So here's an interesting question for you. How many books do you think are out there on relationships? So wouldn't it be nice if there was just one book out there that would solve all your relationship problems? You know, when I first started in practice in 1982, we still had a lot of leftover stuff. I don't know what else to call it, from the 60s. You do your thing, I'll do mine. And when couples kind of got bored with each other, they just wanted out of the relationship. So in the early 90s, though, I noticed a shift. It's like people wanted to stay in the relationship. They seemed to have an intuitive sense that they really loved each other, even though there was a lot of pain in the relationship, and maybe a lot of things going on in the relationship that ordinarily people would say, hey, you know, this is over. But something else was happening. There was definitely this shift. People were really wanting to honor their commitment. They were almost hell-bent on honoring their vows. So even though there was a lot of uproar going on in the relationship, they were committed. They were going to go the distance, as we say. One of the things I became aware of, and it was almost a little bit humorous, but people would come in session after session and just bringing in, I mean, literally truckloads of stuff. And it never dawned on me just to tell them to either leave it here or to leave it out on the curb for the trash pickup, or just to drive directly from the office to the dump. You know, all this stuff is typically referred to as irreconcilable differences, and that's why people get divorced. Irreconcilable differences. And what I noticed is that couples were literally living in and trying to survive in those irreconcilable differences. And there wasn't anyone telling them that they didn't have to live in those irreconcilable differences. They could actually live in the love that brought them together in the first place. So after 25 years of working with couples, I developed, for lack of a better term, a roadmap so that couples can literally live in that relationship instead of living in the irreconcilable differences. And so I wrote a book. It's right here, From the Frying Pan to the Jacuzzi, Gourmet Recipes for a Gourmet Relationship. You know, most relationships start out pretty hot and sizzling, but before you know it, we realize that we're in the frying pan. And so the book takes you through a process where we can get out of that hot and sizzle and into the jacuzzi, which is warm and bubbly and equally sizzling, but it's obviously a different experience. So you want to read the book together, and you want to read it out loud, and it really doesn't matter how much you read, just that you do it together and you do it out loud. And at the end of each chapter are some absolutely wonderful questions to answer and to share out loud your answers together. And you know, so many times people find something that's going to help them in the relationship, but then it turns into like competition. You know, well, you read 50 pages of the book, or you didn't read any pages today, and I don't want that to happen with the book. I want it to be something that truly is going to bring you to a place of healing. So that's why I suggest that you read it together, you read it out loud, one paragraph at a time. But you know, the bottom line is you don't have to read it together. There's lots of good information, and if you read it singly, or even if you're not in a relationship, there's a lot in there for you. Okay, so there's three things that you're going to learn right off the bat from the book. First of all, that you're all grown up and you can't get into trouble anymore. And I know that sounds a little silly, but you know, so often in relationships we're like two little kids and we forget that we are all grown up, or one person relates to the other as a parent or as a child. The second thing you're going to learn is that you chose your partner, and anything short of that is just going to leave you stuck. You chose your partner, you knew from the beginning everything there is to know about your partner. And lastly, blaming. So oftentimes we blame our partner for what's not working in the relationship, and unfortunately, blaming is a way out. It's not a way in. Now, some other things that you're going to learn, in the words of Billy Crystal, you're going to learn that you each have marvelous differences, and that those marvelous differences don't have to get in the way of you having a marvelous relationship. The other thing is that you're going to realize that you can resurrect your juicy, joy-filled dreams. And for whatever reason, we tend to think that we have to give up those dreams once we get married. You're also going to learn how to have your yeses and your nos. That is so, so very important. And perhaps, bottom line, in terms of importance, you're going to learn how to heal and to forgive when there is brokenness in the relationship. So by the end of the book, you will be able to do the dance. And it's the dance of the relationship. You know, we're going through these developmental cycles all throughout our life, and we also go through them in the relationship. So So we start out codependent. We can't live without each other. It's not a bad thing, but there's more to it than that. And so then we move into the next stage where we kind of go through the terrible twos with each other. And that's where a lot of couples get stuck. They don't know how to negotiate through their differences. And if you're lucky, you get to the next phase, which is independence. And you begin to realize that you are each separate people. That is what you bring to the relationship. But it's not enough, because I mean, who wants to live as two separate individuals? And so you get to the next phase, which is called interdependence, where you learn how to do the dance, where you learn how to fold the ingredients of who each of you are into this relationship, which actually ends up being more than what each of you can even begin to bring to the relationship as individuals. All right, so here's the question. What does the average divorce cost? Well, I know this for sure. It costs a lot less than 24 bucks, and that's the cost of my book. And you can order it on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and I also have copies available here at the office. So thank you for making a small investment so that you can have a very, very rich relationship.